Am
Yes.
today's lecture, and we were discussing yesterday about the application of Clebsch-Gordon coefficients, and then before we start evaluating the Clebsch-Gordon coefficient, let me just go back and discuss uh, the addition of angular momentum, the general concept. Now, what you can recall that for an angular momentum operator, J, which has components like Jx, Jy, and Jz, for a single particle, we are talking about that the particle has got angular momentum J, and J has components like Jx, Jy, and Jz. Then this Jx, Jy, they obey a commutation relation that this is given by IH cross Jz. And in general, I had told you that Ji, Jj, this is equal to IH cross Jk, where Ijk are x, y, or z, and they have this cyclic character that Jx and Jy will give you Jz, Jy, Jz will give you Jx, etc. Then we wrote J square as Jx square plus Jy square plus Jz square, and we showed that J square Jk, that means whether it is Jx or Jy or Jz, they commute. And that is why we argued then that since Jx, Jy or Jy, Jz or Jz, Jx, they don't commute among themselves, but they commute with J square. Therefore, we can take two, one J square and another Jz, to have a common eigenstate. That common eigenstate, we wrote it as Jm, okay, where J square operating on Jm gave us Jj plus 1 H cross square Jm, and Jz operating on Jm, this gave us Mh cross Jm. Then we also introduced the raising and lowering operators as J plus as Jx plus Ijy, and J minus as Jx minus Ijy, such that this J plus J minus, they obey the commutation relation that this is 2H cross Jz, and Jz J plus minus, this is equal to plus minus H cross J plus minus. And finally, when we wrote J plus minus Jm, this was equal to H cross J minus M, J plus minus M plus 1, J M plus 1. Okay, this is what we did almost 3 turns ago, that we had one angular momentum of a particle, and from there we established that the following commutation relations are obeyed. Now, the other important point was, from J plus J minus we were able to obtain Jx and Jy, and then we had Jx, Jy, Jz and J square, and then we related them to the angular momentum half or 1 or 3 by 2 of the different particles and obtained the various matrices for the different angular momentum values. Now today what I'm going to do, I'm going to take two angular momenta, and whether that two angular momenta can be a spin angular momentum and the orbital angular momentum, or the two total angular momentum, or two spin angular momentum, but we will keep a general structure and we will write J1 and J2 instead of writing LS or S1, S2. We will try to explain everything in terms of the two angular momenta J1 and J2. Therefore, this is a general description for the addition of the two angular momenta. Okay, but this, whatever I have written today, this is the backbone of what we are going to do now. Now, we are considering two angular momenta. And I am calling it by the name J1 and J2, belonging to two different subspaces 1 and 2, and that is why I am telling you that these are independent quantities: two spin of the particles, two orbital angular momentum of the particles, or two total angular momentum of the particles, and therefore these are the angular momenta of the two different particles. Therefore, you can always measure the angular momentum of particle 1 as well as the angular momentum of the particle 2 simultaneously, meaning by that J1I, J2J, when I am able to measure independently the value of J1 and J2 along any direction, Ij here again is representing X, Y or Z, then what should be its value? 0. When they commute, meaning by that simultaneously we would be able to measure J1 and J2, whether it is J1x, J2y, J1x, J2x, J1z, J2z, whatever be it, we will be able to measure the angular momentum of the two particles simultaneously. While when we talk about a single particle, then for that single particle, J1I, J1J will follow the same commutation relation as I wrote earlier, IH cross JK, or J2I, J2J. This will be also equal to IH cross J2, where IJK are X, Y, or Z. Okay, this is an important point. And at the same time, J1 square will commute with J1Z, J2 square will commute with J2Z, and therefore for J1 square J1Z we will write a joint eigenstate, and for J2 square J2Z we will write another joint eigenstate. Say I am writing J1 M1 as the joint eigenstate of J1 square and J1Z. Similarly, J2M2 as the joint eigenstate of J2 square and J2Z. Now I am writing the same analogy as we did it for a single particle, because I am treating J1 and J2 or J1 square, J2 square independently, such that when J1 square operates on this joint eigenstate, this gives us J1 times J1 plus 1 H cross square J1 M1. J1Z operating on J1 M1, this gives us M1 H cross J1 M1. Similarly, J2 square operating on J2 M2 gives us J2 times J2 plus 1 H cross square J2 M2, and J2Z operating on J2 M2 is will give us M2H cross J2 M2. Therefore, if we are treating J1 square and J1Z as the operators which have got the joint eigenstates J1 M1, and J2 squared J2Z as the operators which have joint eigenstates J2 M2, then following the analogy for a single angular momentum, we may write this. Now, what is the important point? That this M1 will take values from minus J1 to plus J1. Similarly, M2 will take values from minus J2 to plus J2. That means I can write that the possible values are J1 minus J1, J1 minus J1 plus 1, dot dot J1, J1 minus 1, and J1 plus J. These are the possible values when we consider the different projections. Okay, because M1 will move from minus J1 to plus J1. How many values are there? There are in total 2 J1 plus 1 values. So that therefore the dimension of the subspace which we are talking about, one dimension of the subspace 1 is 2J1 plus 1. Similarly, dimension of the subspace 2 will be 2J2 plus 1. Therefore, if we combine subspace 1 and subspace 2, then the total dimension will be twice J1 plus 1 times twice J2 plus 1. This will be the net dimension when we will consider subspace 1 and subspace 2. Now, till now, we have treated subspace 1 and subspace 2 independently. Okay, but now what we have to do, we have to combine these two angular momentum states. Okay, therefore what I am going to write, I am going to write that the four operators J1 square, J1Z, J2 square, J2Z form a complete set of commuting operators because J1 square commutes with J1Z, J2 square commutes with J2Z. and 1 and 2 are entirely two different subspaces. Therefore, J1 square also commutes with J2 square, and J1 square commutes with J2Z. Therefore, if this is so, that these four angular momenta which we have considered, they commute among themselves, then that means we can represent them by a joint eigenstates, and we denote the joint eigenstates by J1, J2, M1, M2, which is the direct product of J1, M1 and J2, M2. That is J1, J2, M1, M2. This is equal to J1, M1, J2, M2. Why we can write like this? Because the coordinates of J1 and J2, they are independent. The coordinates of J1 and J2, these coordinates are independent. That is why we can write as the product for the joint eigenstates. Now that means J1 square will operate here, J1Z will operate here, J2 square will operate here, and J2Z will operate here. Therefore, you may call them by some equation number, but since my slide will change and I won't will have a record of that. But you can start with the fact that this is the part which is going to play a very important role, and when we operate it by J1 square on the joint eigenstates J1, J2, M1, M2, this will give me J1, J1 plus 1 H cross square, J1, J2, M1, M2. J1Z will give us M1 H cross. J2 square will give us J2, J2 plus 1 H cross square. And J2Z will give us M2H cross, this joint eigenstate. Okay? And this joint eigenstates form a complete and orthonormal basis. They are orthogonalized and they have been properly normalized. Therefore, the important point is the ket we are talking about J1, J2, M1, M2 form a complete and orthonormal basis. Meaning by that, M1 minus J12 plus J1, M2 minus J22 plus J2, J1, J2, M1, M2, J1, J2, M1, M2, this is equal to 1. Like earlier, for single particle, we had Jm, this is equal to 1. Here, for the joint eigenstates, J1, J2, M1, M2 in ket and J1, J2, M1, M2 in bra, this is equal to 1. This ensures that they are normalized, and to ensure orthogonality, what we will say? We will say that J1 prime, J2 prime, M1 prime, M2 prime, J1, J2, M1, M2, which is equivalent to J1 prime, M1 prime, J1, M1, J2 prime, M2 prime, J2, M2. This should be how much? This should be equal to delta J1, J1 prime, delta M1, M1 prime, delta J2, J2 prime, delta M2, M2. Therefore, we will ensure orthogonality property, and here we ensure that they are properly normalized. Isn't it? Is it clear to everybody? That just we are extending the formalism which we wrote for single particle state to the two particle states where there are two subspaces, and those two subspaces can be the angular momentum of the two different particles, or the different angular momenta of the same particle. Okay. Now the important point is this J1 and J2 will combine to give us J, and this M1 and M2 will combine to give us M, the total J and the total M. Therefore, the important point is that we will write that the kit J1, J2, M1, M2 and Jm bases can be connected by means of a transformation. See here, I am writing Jm and I am telling you that Jm exists here. Then you will say that what I have done nothing. I have written a ket Jm here and a ket Jm here. But then I will say that instead of a 1 here, what I am going to do, I am going to use the normalization property, and I am sandwiching here my M1 equal to minus J1 to plus J1, M2 equal to minus J2 to plus J2, J1, J2, M1, M2. This is J1, J2, M1, M2, and then writing Jm. Okay. Now, what is this quantity? Yesterday and day before yesterday we have spoken about it. This is nothing but
Clefort coefficient.
Clebsch-Gordan coefficient. This is nothing but Clebsch-Gordan coefficients. And what I have told you that by convention, we take the Clebsch-Gordan coefficients to be real. Meaning by that, that J1, J2, M1, M2, Jm is the same as its conjugate. This is what that will ensure that the quantities are real. Okay. Now you see, J corresponds to the total angular momentum capital J, while J1 and J2 will correspond to J1 and J2, the two angular momenta. And that means if I will come back to this guy and if I say I apply Jz on Jm, Kate, this will be on the right hand side. This is a number. That means here this will operate on the joint eigenstate J1, J2, M1, M2. And what is my Jz? Jz is made up of J1z and J2z. Therefore, we will write M1 comma M2. All the time I don't want to write this guy. Otherwise, in principle, I should write like this. J1z plus J2z operating on J1, J2, M1, M2, and then what we have a real number which we are writing it as J1, J2, J, M1, M2, M. Recall my yesterday's lecture, I wrote this as J1, J2, J, M1, M2. And this is written, mind it, this is written in many ways. This is one way of writing this. The other way is to write J1, J2, M1, M2, J. They both are one and the same. Either you can write like this J1, J2, J, M1, M2, M, or J1, J2, M1, M2, Jm. Okay. Now you see Jz is going to operate on Jm. This is going to give us MH cross, while J1Z will operate on this, that will give us M1H cross times the Clebsch-Gordon coefficient, and J2Z when it will operate on this Kate will give us what? Will give us M2H cross. Therefore, what we can say that if we look at it, we can write it as MH cross Jm. Here it is M1H cross J1, J2, M1, M2 times Clebsch-Gordon, and M2H cross the same thing. Okay. Therefore, the important point is that when you bring all the terms to the right hand side, what you are going to get is M minus M1 plus M2 H cross. You can write this Jm as we have written it as J1, J2, Jm as C times J1, J2, M1, M2. Just MH cross instead of Jm, I can again write C J1, J2, J, M1, M2, M times this quantity, because this is what I have told you, that Jm is this quantity and this is Clebsch-Gordon coefficient. Therefore, instead of Jm, I can write this guy, the Clebsch-Gordon coefficient which exists here, and And then I will be left with J1, J2, M1, M2, which is nothing but this fellow. Therefore, instead of Jm, as you can notice here, we have the Clebsch-Gordon and the joint kit. Therefore, when we will operate on Jz on Jm, we will have Mh cross Jm, and instead of Jm, I will write this guy. Therefore, in my next step, I am writing here itself to make things clear. See, this is my Jm. What I am telling you that first operate Jz on Jm. This will give you Mh cross Jm. And then on the right hand side, what you have M1 H cross J1, J2, M1, M2 times the Clebsch-Gordon coefficient plus M2H cross J1, J2, M1, M2 C times the Clebsch-Gordon coefficient. And then in my next step, what I am telling you, that you may write this Jm in terms of this quantity, where this is nothing but the same Clebsch-Gordon coefficient, and Jm is nothing but, then you can write Clebsch-Gordon coefficient times this kit. Therefore, this will be how much? M1 comma M2 M minus M1 plus M2H cross C. I should write H cross outside. C J1 J2 J M1 M2 M J1 J2. This must be equal to. Okay. This is how, in short, we can write this expression. When we have operated by Jz, we have operated by J1Z, and we have operated by J2Z. Now you see, this is a kit which always will be linearly independent. Therefore, what you are saying is that when this left hand side, the expression, whatever expression you have, if the left hand side is 0, and this is linearly independent, then that means you know that H cross cannot be equal to 0. This means that this fellow times this Clebsch-Gordon, this must be equal to M minus M1 plus M2 times Cj1 J2 J M1 M2 M. This must be equal to 0. This implies that either the Clebsch-Gordon will be 0 or this quantity will be 0. Now, yesterday we have seen that if the Clebsch-Gordon turns out to be 1, or it may turn out to be 1 by root 2 or root 2 by 3 or minus 1 by root 3, depending upon the value of J1, J2, Jm, this implies that for a non-zero values of Clebsch-Gordon coefficient, what is the important conclusion from this expression? That if the Clebsch-Gordon coefficient is non-zero, then M must be equal to M1 plus M2. And this is what I had emphasized many times yesterday and day before yesterday, that the projections are basically
Algebraically added.
algebraically added. Okay, that is why whenever I wrote 1/2, here I wrote plus 1 plus half. Then first of all, I fixed this quantity plus 3/2. And then I argued that 1 1/2 in principle can give you half and 3/2. But half cannot have a projection plus 3/2. Therefore, this should be 3/2. Or the other option which I told, that you can have this value, or you can have this value. Okay. Therefore, the important point is, whenever I am considering M1 and M2 for a non-zero Clebsch-Gordan coefficient, my M must be equal to M1 plus M2. And this is what we argue as, that always the projections are algebraically added, while when we consider the angular momentum of the two subspaces, then the possible angular momentum values go from mod of J1 minus J2 to mod of J1 plus J2. Now the important point is, this J1, J2, M1, M2 ket, or the JM ket we are talking about, they are orthogonal, they are normalized. Okay. Therefore, I am just we are supposed to reconnect within few seconds. Therefore, I am again rewriting it, that what do we mean by orthogonality property and the normalization property. These two are very important. Uh, Therefore, when we talk about the normalization and orthogonality property, let me write it again, that M1 going from minus J1 to plus J1, M2 going from minus J2 plus to plus J2, J1, J2, M1, M2, J1, J2, M1, M2. This must be equal to 1. This is an important point. And J prime, M prime, J prime, M prime, Jm, this is equal to delta Jj prime, delta Mm prime. Okay. Now, again, try to understand this. I am writing J prime, M prime, Jm as delta Jj prime, Mm prime. Then I can sandwich 1 here, and instead of 1, I can sandwich this guy, such that I can write M1, M2, J prime, M prime, J1, J2, M1, M2, J1, J2, M1, M2, Jm. This must be equal to delta Jj prime, delta Mm prime. Is it not? And what you can notice, that this quantity is the conjugate of this. Okay. And that means, if I assume J equal to J prime and M equal to M prime, then I can write this fellow as M1, M2, J1, J2, M1, M2, Jm. Okay. This is equal to how much I should write?
1.
1. Good. This should be equal to 1. Okay. J1, J2, M1, M2, Jm. See here, what I was telling you, that this quantity is the conjugate of this quantity. But these two quantities by our choice, they are real. And if they are real, then they are the same numbers. And that is why what I have done, I have written it as a square. Okay. And this I am going to use, these three properties, these I am going to use in the evaluation of Clebsch-Gordon coefficients. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let us move ahead, and I am changing the slide, keeping in mind that these are the master equations which we are going to use. Okay, and now let us come to the calculation of the Clebsch-Gordon coefficients. And the first example which I am taking, I am considering the two angular momenta, while I am considering that M1 is plus J1 and M2 is plus J2, such that my M is M1 plus M2, and here that will be equal to algebraic sum of these two quantities. Okay, that means what I am talking about, I am talking about J1 whose projection is plus J1, J2 whose projection is plus J2. This is giving me J, and this is giving me plus J1 plus J2. Okay, is it clear to everybody? Similarly, the other possibility is this M1 is minus J1, M2 is minus J2, and M is minus J1 plus J2, such that I am writing it as J1 J2 J minus J1 minus J2, maximum projection and minimum projection that I am talking about. For example, half, what is this? Plus J1, that means this is plus half, plus J2, plus half. Now these two would be algebraically added, plus 1, and plus 1 we can only get when my J is equal to projection plus 1, I can only get when my J is equal to 1.
1.
Yes? Okay? But mind it, the other possibilities could be half, 1. This is 0. Projection is 0, which is possible from plus half minus half, or this is possible from minus half plus half, or 0 I can also get from half combining to 0, because the other possibility is half minus half, and this will I can get by minus 0, and the other possibility is half 0 minus half plus half 0. Okay, and the last one is half half 1 minus half minus half minus 1. Therefore, what you realize that this is again the case when J1 is minus, J1 has projection minus J1, J2 has projection minus J2, and then projections are algebraically added. Then what I had told you, that if these are the two cases where the projections are extremum, whether it is maximum or minimum, then what should be the value? One. Okay. While for all these cases which I have written over here, the value will not be equal to 1, because they don't deal with the maximum value of possible values of m. Okay, the maximum possible value of m was +1 and minimum value was -1. Similarly, the other example that I took was 1/2, and then if I am talking about the maximum projection of both the quantities, that means this is +1, this is +1/2, this is +3/2. This is only possible when this will be 3/2, or 1/2 3/2 -1 -1/2 -3/2. These are again the maximum projection or the minimum projection. And for the maximum and minimum projection, what are the possible values? Yesterday I have told you the possible values would be, there will be only one value, and that will be 1 here as well as 1 here. While following this analogy, I can have the other possibilities, that this, instead of +3/2, this could be +1/2, or this is -1/2, this is 0, then this will be -1/2, or similarly you can think about the other values, but those values, whatever you will think, won't correspond to the extremum case. Therefore, the example which I am taking is the extremum case here, where J1 has the projection plus J1, J2 has the projection plus J2, or J1 has the projection minus J1, and J2 has the projection minus J2. Okay, while we have seen that for a possible values of J, how many possible projections are possible? The dimension which I have talked about,
2j plus 1.
2j plus 1. Therefore, in general, there will be 2j plus 1 values, and that is why when, for example, I consider j equal to, for example, 2, then the values are +2, +1, 0, -1 and -2. 5 possible values for j equal to 2. 5, it has got 5 dimensions, and the state you will write it as 2 plus 2, 2 plus 1, 2 0, 2 minus 1, 2 minus 2. What is the important point is that the Clebsch-Gordan coefficient for the extremum values will be equal to 1, otherwise the value will not be equal to 1. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Now let us see. I had written Jm as equal to M1 M2 J1 J2 M1 M2 Jm along with the kit, sorry, M1 M2. Now we are considering the case where M is J1 plus J2 and J is also J1 plus J2. Then that means I am writing here this as J1 plus J2 plus J1 plus J2. This is equal to J1 J2 plus J1 plus J2 J1 plus J2 plus J1 plus J2 J1 J2 plus J1 plus J2. You see what I have done? I have considered the maximum projection. I am writing it as M is equal to plus J1 plus J2 because J1 has the maximum projection plus J1, J2 has the maximum projection plus J2, and this from the property that M must be equal to M1 plus M2 for a non-zero Clebsch-Gordon coefficient, this must be plus J1 plus the projections. Okay? You may notice that always we are writing the projections, we are writing as either with a positive sign or with a negative sign. Okay. The other important point which I have told you, that all these kits which we talk about, they are what? They are properly normalized. They are orthogonal and they are properly normalized. Meaning by that, J1 plus J2 plus J1 plus J2, J1 plus J2 plus J1 plus J2. How much would be this? 1.
1.
And similarly, for this case, J1 J2 plus J1 plus J2, J1 J2 plus J1 plus J2, how much will be this? 1. Is it not? Now you notice that if I take the conjugate on both the sides, or equivalently, if I say that I take the mod of square of this, mod of square of this, and mod of square of this. Now you will say that mod square will be here. You have a kit, you will have a bra for the conjugate, and that means what you will have? When I will take mod square of this, you will have this quantity. Is it not? Are you getting me? When I take the mod square on both the sides, then that means I will have this quantity and the conjugate of this quantity. And this is the kit, and the conjugate of this quantity will be a bra. While this quantity is nothing but a Clebsch-Gordon coefficient, and its conjugate will be, I will take this to this side and this to this side, interchange the kit and bra. We know that Clebsch-Gordon is a real quantity, Therefore, by changing the kit and bra, that would be the same as the old structure. That means if I am writing this as C, the other also I will, when I will take mod square of that, I will write it as C. That means we have the left hand side as this, while the right hand side we have mod of C square, but we know that for all practical purposes C is a real quantity. And then we have this quantity, and when we will take the mod square, this will be the conjugate of this quantity, and that means we will have this result. Is it not? Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Therefore, what you are noticing that if I will take the square of the both sides, then what I am getting is a value of C for the
Equals to 1.
maximum projection is equal to 1. Similarly, if I will take the minimum projection minus J1 plus J2, that means I will take this as minus J1 and this as minus J2, such that this is minus J1 plus J2. You can directly see that that value also would turn out to be equal to exactly 1. Okay? Therefore, for the maximum projection, no matter what are the values of J1 and J2, or the minimum projection, no matter what is the value of J1 and what's the value of J2, this Clebsch-Gordon coefficient will turn out to be equal to 1. Now tomorrow I will talk about the Clebsch-Gordon when you don't have the extreme values. That means when I will talk about half, 0 plus half 1, or I will talk about half, 0, 0, plus half, minus half, 0. Something like that. I will take the different possible cases, and then I will show you that what will be the value of Clebsch-Gordon coefficient if we have other possible values other than the extremum values. Okay, try to look at the equations which I have written today. That will make our life much easier tomorrow while we will calculate the values of Clebsch-Gordon coefficients for the other extremum values for M1 and M2. Okay, let's stop here. We shall start again the discussion